Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, Travis Schlenk has done it again.
Now it is time. Finally, you had a bye week in the whole season that you were waiting for a change of QB1. You got it. Now we want to know, is QB1 ready?
Last but not least, and for the culture, sometimes common sense ain't just common.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into ATL Day Ones. We just want to say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate that from you in advance. And today's show of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by Bet Online T. 123 to 122. When you look at the game last night, T, it looked like the Hawks lost twice last night in this game. But when you think about what AJ Griffin was able to do, and Jalen Johnson was able to throw a perfect pass at the end of that game, and with half a second left, AJ Griffin torques his body, figures out a way to turn around and get rid of the rock and put that bad boy in the hoop. T, I don't know about you, but I kind of lost it. I kind of woke up the house when that went down last night.
Oh, yeah. That was one of those moments. And it was one of those moments that I said, I'm going to put it on repeat. So even this morning at the station, I was watching the entire game again, almost like I'd never seen that game-winning shot, just because it was so amazing. And it was so needed. Like the Hawks are going on the road for a 3-game road trip. It's a back-to-back. So they're in Memphis tonight. You just didn't want to go to Memphis having lost 4 in a row.
Right.
Just needed something, a spark to just get you going. And isn't it so interesting? And this is, I'm going to tip the question that we're going to ask about the Hawks, but let's talk about who inbounded that pass. And let's talk about who hit the game-winning shot. Because when we talk about them, then we also have to give Nate McMillan some serious credit about opening up on his philosophy of how he plays rookies and younger players. Jalen Johnson, that was your inbound passer. He's only in his second year. Sure got a lot of minutes last night. And then you look at AJ Griffin. Who won the game for you? The rookie. So when I look at the box and I see, okay, Jalen Johnson played 15 minutes. It may not seem like a big deal to most, but it is a big deal because that actually started, Nate started that last year. Not a lot of people realize that toward the end of the year, he started giving him minutes. And then, of course, AJ Griffin is given the confidence to start in the absence of John Collins. So, yeah, I just absolutely love all of those little storylines in there because it's really, that play is about way more than just AJ Griffin making the basket. That was the end of everything that was culminating, including the play that was drawn up by Coach Nate. And even taking that time out, because remember, Trae was on the inbound at first.
Yeah, no doubt. And they ended up calling the timeout because Trae realized, hey, I don't have the look that they wanted me to look for. So, hey, I'm going to call the timeout and get this bad boy figured out. And I think that when you think about I know a lot of people want to get Prenti, the assistant coach Prenti, for drawing up the play, and Nate McMillan did that. But I think one of the things that you have to realize, even in that, right, is the fact that, like, Nate McMillan knows he's the leader. He knows he's the guy that, make those final decisions. And I think that for him to give his assistant that type of credit in that moment, because he knows, he understands what people are calling for, because he even talked about in his post-game presser about how folks complaining about the rotations and everything with the minutes restrictions and everything like that. So those are some of the things that I feel like Nate is kind of throwing out there, like, Coach Prenti drew that up. But in the back of his mind, he's like, I the one that doggone finalized that bad boy. I'm the one that said, hey, let's go with this. This is what we're going to do. I understand what the rookie and the second-year guy, their capabilities. I understand that I'm going to have Trae Young up under the basket running the curl to draw the defenders out of the paint. So, so you have that one-on-one situation to be able to have a clear lane to the basket at the end of the game. So it's just a lot of little things that happened within the game last night.
Mhm.
And I think that we have to give Nate McMillan his credit. If we're going to call him out for rotations, bad rotations, or call him out for not being able to draw up plays in those particular moments, I think this is the moment where we have to give him that necessary credit and give Travis Schlenk the credit for bringing in a guy like AJ Griffin, because there were a lot of red flags coming out of this guy, coming out of Duke, because the guy basically barely even played at Duke, almost like a Kyrie Irving type situation. So I think all of those things you got to kind of look at, and how management and this coaching staff is working with the group of guys that they have. You got to give your hats off to what happened last night.
Yeah, definitely.
So another thing though, T, I think that I thought was very interesting is, not only do you get the win, you draw up the play, you do all these things, right? But we can't keep up under wraps what has been going on off the court with this team, and how Trae Young and Nate McMillan have been kind of going at it. And I think that, the whole not showing up for the Friday night against the Denver Nuggets, I think that was kind of like that was like the end result of what has already been kind of brewing underneath, right? And I think that's safe to say. That's a safe assumption to make. But do you think this is the type of game that, I know a lot of times people like to put storylines on certain games and everything like that and kind of really hyper focus in on this particular game, but I think you can't help but to at least look at this game like, okay, is this the moment where they say, all right, we trust each other, and I think we'll be able to move forward?
I certainly hope so. I mean, when you saw the post game, right, and Trae's kind of running through and he's telling the photographer, hey, take the camera off me, put it on your boy, and AJ Griffin is right behind him. Just little playful moments like that, it just eases the tension. It really, really eases the tension. And you saw everybody just crashing on AJ Griffin last night, the entire bench. I mean, it was just chaos in the good way. It was like the best chaos ever. So yeah, I'm hoping that maybe they'll think about this, like, doesn't this feel better than all that friction? Like, doesn't it feel better that literally it took almost all five players to execute the play last night? So if one person would not have executed properly or been in the proper space, then we don't win this game, because AJ Griffin never gets the ball in time. So I'm hoping that it'll be a spark, a catalyst, something that'll just get them going, because I would love to see them at least come back from this road trip 2-1. Be nice to get 3-0, but at least 2-1.
Yeah.
And I want it to be hopefully a situation where, Jarvis, we're talking about even different players, right? Like we're talking about maybe DeAndre Hunter leading the way, that particular game, or just somebody else, because I just want it to continue to be next man up, and then you're actually showing up when you're that next man, like Bogdan Bogdanovic, who is literally saying minutes restriction.
His name is Bo, T. Him named Bo. That's Bo. Bo is out there getting buckets out there. Like, I get so excited when he gets it going like that.
Oh yeah.
This is a very dangerous looking team. I'm sorry. I would definitely, it's safe to say on that. But speaking of, talking about trust, T, Dansby Swanson is a free agent. That he is a guy that a lot of people want to come back. I've been on record saying that I don't think he comes back, and I'm not just being a negative Nancy. I just feel like, hey, they let Freddie Freeman walk. They could let Dansby walk as well. So, but we do get the report of Mark Bowman confirming an offer that the Braves had slid across the table towards the Dansby Swanson camp, and they said that there was between the $16 and $17 million annual average value. That's a number that's a term that's been thrown around a lot in baseball and in this hot stove period. But T, the expectation, or given how the market's kind of bared out for the top four shortstops, it's looking like Dansby may drop between 22 and 25 million. Do you think this dude could be willing to take that type of quote unquote hometown discount?
Right. Because I was thinking, okay, Trey Turner, assumed to be the best of the top four, if you will, he got 27. So
27,
then Xander Bogaerts got 25.
25.
So to me, if Dansby is arguably the third of the best, and of course there's Carlos Correa. So why can't Dansby get 23? Why can't Dansby even get 21? But for you to not put him in the 20s when the first two of that quartet, are in the mid to upper 20s, that's a little confusing to me. And, thankfully he did get the 6 years because, our buddy Grant McCauley, who does the Braves postcast, he said that he really thought it was going to be, some
A
negotiating
year
around the years.
situation,
Yeah, Braves wanted 5, Dansby wanted 6. Well, Dansby got the 6, which is
right.
great. That's half the battle. Now,
Yeah.
the other half is, and hey, maybe you start low because you already know he's going to aim high at the 27 and you kind of come in the middle.
That's kind of how negotiating works.
That's what I'm going to need to hear in the next few days, or I'm going to be scratching my head thinking, okay, we always say Alex Anthopoulos is the best in the business in the city, but that 16 to 17 coming out of the gates, I'm like, to me, even with negotiations in mind, it still feels small as the first out.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why I really feel like the Dodgers may be in play.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that'll be very interesting if, and John Heyman reporting that they presumably are the favorite, which is so interesting. The verbiage this time of year is I just love to watch it. How what is as my guy Rob Tribble would say, the verbal judo that reporters play around this time of year. I absolutely love it. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. To kind of see what's going on. Like you said, hopefully Dansby comes back. Like you said, I'm not going to hold my breath. But T, if you're trying to find a way to get some money, not only T, what about you? You, the listener of ATL Day Ones. If you want to figure out how to make some money, go to betonline.net because it's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs, find all of your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You're trying to spend a little money on this game. We talked about the Grizzlies and the Hawks. They tip off at 8:00 tonight. If you're trying to get that bet in, go to betonline.net because from what I'm gathered here, it looks like they may be on. The Grizzlies are an 8-point favorite. You're trying to figure out what to do. How can you figure out where should I lay my money? Should I put the money on the over, the under? BetOnline continues to be the top online source for all your sports wagering information for live income betting. And when the game is going on, scores, and podcasts. You guys check us out each and every day for all your ATL sports needs. For all your sports wagering information, go to betonline.net because you need to go there today, right now, after the show is over with, of course, and use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today because guess what? BetOnline is where the game starts.
Yes. So we are back in action. Actually, both the Falcons and the Saints, because they're getting ready for a rematch, their game to begin on Sunday. And this time, of course, they're in New Orleans. So it's going to look a little different from week one. Week one, it was Marcus Mariota. It was Jameis Winston. So that very interesting, turn of events, if you will. And so, of course, the Saints pulled that out last minute. That was one of those kind of heartbreakers. Fast forward to now, week 14. And we are at a point in place where, what's going to happen with these new quarterbacks? So we're going to focus on the Falcons quarterback first. Desmond Ridder is what you guys have all been clamoring for. But what is it exactly that you're clamoring for? Like, what is it exactly, Jarvis, that you think people want to see in terms of knowing what is Desmond Ridder made of? What does he bring to the table? What does that look like?
And I think that one of the things that I've always kind of admired about Desmond Ridder, once I got a chance to, talk to him in the rookie mini camps and spring training and everything like that, it was kind of just the confidence that he speaks with, right? Though you can kind of understand why he sold himself to the Falcons down there in the Senior Bowl. And a lot of teams were impressed by Desmond Ridder. And I think that in the Falcons, you get that sense that this guy is confident, right? Yeah. And confident enough, not only when things are going well, but confident enough to to continue to have that confidence when things are going badly for you. And obviously, as a rookie quarterback in the NFL, you're going to have to be prepared to deal with some adversity. And I think that with the Tampa Bay, taking the L, they got taken out to the woodshed by the 49ers, and
indeed,
maybe the glimmer of hope is a little bit brighter. Maybe 5% to maybe like 9% chance to get into the playoffs or win the division. So I think that's some of the things that I think that everybody's going to have their eye on, right? How are you going to respond to that? Yeah. How is this team going to respond to being in that situation with the rookie? Are y'all going to support them by making plays or going out your way to make sure you do everything you possibly can to make sure you support this guy because, Marcus Mariota, he had his issues, but you know that you can count on him to bring that extra element that was able to make this one of the better rushing football teams in the NFL. So you're going to be looking for that, what element that Desmond Ridder is going to be able to bring. And I think it's going to be throwing that deep ball and connecting with guys like Drake London and Olamide Zaccheaus and Cardero Hodge. I think that's what he's going to have to be able to bring. It's just a matter of timing. And I think Arthur Smith is going to be working on that timing as they get their running game going and working in that play action. And if they're able to do that, I think we'll get a good idea of what Desmond Ridder is going to be able to bring to this table going forward.
Yeah, and I do think it's mental. I believe that the game will be fast for him. Obviously, the Saints are going to do all kinds of things. Like they'll probably line up, and at the last possible second, they'll just switch. They'll switch their scheme, right? And to kind of confuse the rookie because, hey, he probably has been studying. Oh, okay, well, I see them lined up this way. This is what it means. So this is what I'm going to do. So they're going to do those kinds of things. They're probably going to come at him with blitzes to make him have to think fast. But I think it may catch him off guard in the first half, but I wouldn't doubt that he could make the mental adjustments in the second half. That's the one thing we did not see in Marcus Mariota after 7 years. We just still didn't see good decision-making. So I think that's one area where, the game may be speedy for him initially, but it's going to slow down because of the way he thinks about the game and what his approach to the game is. And, the other piece there is this. We were talking about this earlier, the decisions that Nate McMillan made, the adjustment in taking that time out to get the Hawks the win, right? And so this is a situation where as much as the Falcons fans have clamored for it, now that Arthur Smith has made that decision, I feel like we're not going to know until Sunday, but how good or bad is this decision based on what we might see Sunday?
To be honest with you, I think it's a matter of the end result, right? But I think that, given why he made the decision, not necessarily because they were out for the playoffs, but I think that he said that these are his exact words. This is a decision that was made for the short term and the long term, because I really feel like Arthur Smith had seen enough of the missed throws, the overthrows, and just not being able to connect with his wide receivers and his tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. So I think that was something that was a big piece that he made a decision. And also, of course, there was a part of it was to be able to get a peek into your future, right? But now that you're still trying to win games, that doesn't change his mindset, right? It's not like he's trying to tank for whoever, Will Anderson or whoever you want to say, throw name prospect that you want to be on your team. But I think that when you look at it, though, I feel like Arthur Smith is going to do everything in his power, like he did for Marcus Mariota, to put him in good situations. And I believe there's no doubt in my mind that he will come up with a game plan to make Desmond Ridder look good. And I don't think that New Orleans they're going to make sure that he's going to look bad. And I think that more than likely, just from as long as the game plan is succinct, and like we talked about those first set of scripted plays that Arthur Smith comes out with, as long as those things are in place and look like what they need to be, I'm fine. I'm totally fine with either way. And I'm not going to discredit Arthur Smith if Desmond Ridder has a bad game. That's just not. I don't feel like that's how I'm going to feel after the game if he doesn't have a good one.
Yeah, to me, there's almost no bad thing that he can do unless it's pick six after pick six.
Right? Yeah.
That
like
kind
Brock
of
Osweiler or somebody like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, gosh.
Every time the ball leaves your hand, it ends up in the hands of somebody with black and gold on. That would be a bad look. But other than something that egregious, I just really can't say that there's anything else I can think of that would make it a bad look, because that's just what Arthur Smith is trying to do. He's trying to get a look, period. He's trying to get a look real time. So for me, for a coach to take that chance and we trust his decision-making process, I'm going to say I can't think of anything else that would make this a bad look for Arthur Smith. And, you look at it as well and you say to yourself, what would make it a bad look for Desmond Ridder? Like, what can he do in terms of his preparation, right? And what can he do for execution purposes? And for me, that's what it is. Like, if he's preparing and Dean Pease has, had his defense kind of like going against him and kind of giving him certain looks or whatever, I mean, he's been accustomed to that. It's not like he hasn't been getting that all season. Now, maybe not on the, level that the Saints, front four are,
Right.
but so some semblance thereof. Right, exactly. So I'm thinking for me, it's all about what is the biggest part of Ritter's success or failure on Sunday. And again, I'm looking for the mental. I'm just looking for, if you do throw that pick early, do you bounce back? If you happen to do a pick six, do you bounce back? So that's what I'm looking at. And so the failure for me would only be if somehow he got in his own head and an early mistake was there for the rest of the game, and then it cost the Falcons the game.
Yeah, and I think that mental fortitude piece is very important, right, when it comes to quarterbacking in the NFL, because we've seen Marcus Mariota's kind of confidence kind of wane a little bit as when they've lost the four out of the last 5 games. And I think that when you talk about have a quarterback answering questions about, hey, it is what it is,
Right.
they have to make a decision, those things mean something. That means something if somebody's willing to verbalize those things right after a loss. So I think that I don't think that from a confidence standpoint that Arthur Smith has shown Ridder to bring him into this situation on the road against your division rival with a very small chance of trying to win it, stay in this divisional race as the season winds down. I think for those reasons I'm not really too concerned about Ridder's confidence and mental fortitude that I think that he's shown. And since he stepped out there in Flowery Branch on the field, I think that's something that we're definitely going to continue to see regardless of what happens.
Right. And here on this show, we talk about that, and we'll keep you guys up to date on what's going on in Flowery Branch throughout the week. But we also have our eye on Dansby Swanson. But let's be honest, Jarvis, not just us. Locked On Sports Today has their eyes on him as well, because this is national news, because he could go to the Braves, he could go to the Dodgers, or of course there could be a suitor whom we haven't even identified yet who could come in and swoop in the shortstop. So of course, stop here to hear the latest and greatest, but also check out our guys at Locked On Sports Today, because they'll react to the biggest stories of the day. They're going to tell you what their thoughts are on any and everything, just like we do. Now, we call it For the Culture. They call it Take of the Day. But check them out. You check us out on Odyssey, the app. You check us out on YouTube, as well as download wherever you download us, wherever you download your podcast. We appreciate it, but we will appreciate it even more if you do the same for Locked On Sports Today.
Locked On Sports Atlanta family, listen up. We just told you about Locked On Sports Today. I'm about to tell you about ATL Day One's contact information. ATLDay1s@gmail.com. 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 That is the place you need to go to if you want to get in contact with the show. Whatever, comments, questions, discretions that you may have about the gift card that I was supposed to send you, but I never did. Yeah, it's all that, everything. You need to find out everything, each and everything that you want to do as far as getting in contact with the show. Make sure you do that. We appreciate that from you in advance. Now, T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture. And sometimes, it's whatever the hell we want to talk about. But that's just how we get down on the show. Today is no different. How about this? Now, T, like this would kind of hit a little home for me because, I've learned, I've grew up with one of the offensive line coaches from Cedar Grove. I've had interactions, had plenty of conversations with multiple guys who went to that school, coached at that school. And today I'm still kind of feeling a certain type of way because I mentioned at the top of the show about common sense not being common. And when you think about how, I like the word that you used earlier, egregious this touchdown call was to put Sandy Creek up 21-17 and ended up being the final score for them to win the 3A state championship. You just got to figure out a way to just get this right on the spot, right? Like you can't just let this happen because it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close to like, oh my God, you got to do something right in that moment, right?
Yeah. And the reason that there's not only one referee out there, the reason there's a line judge is because when you get in moments like that, where a game-winning play can happen, use all the eyes that you have on it. But the only eyes were that of the referee. And nobody else even came to huddle with him to say, are we sure? We didn't see that ball cross the plane from this angle or this angle or this angle. You got it from back there, but we didn't see the same thing you saw. How can they see in the booth? How can they see on the sidelines? And how can everybody in the darn country see that the player was a yard and a half? A yard and a half. That's like an eternity when you're in the low red zone, right? So it just really is painful because I'm sure, the Cedar Grove guys, they wanted to be a part of that conversation of 4 championships in 6 years and, be a part of that legacy and the legendary, teams of the late 2020s or this decade, if you will. They don't get to do that.
Right.
You took that from them. And yes, that was third down. I get that. And so, yeah, Sandy Creek could have gotten that back in, right?
Right.
In that fourth, or gotten it in, punched it in the fourth quarter on the 4th and goal. But that's not the point. The point is, you as a referee, you won the game for the opponent. So sorry, opponent, you didn't win. You didn't win. And I do think that this is going to, at least at a minimum, bring up some conversation and some commentary about what can be done, because no, you do not want to slow down a high school game at all. You don't want to do that just for the sake of replay or anything like that. But just maybe in certain instances, you may like this, maybe within the last 2 minutes of a game, if it's a score, you have the ability to replay, because if you would have replayed that, you can't tell me you would have called that the same way.
And to be honest with you, look at it from this standpoint. Like, you don't even have to do it for regular season, because at the end of the day, when you're on a national stage, right? Because a lot of people are talking about this, not just within the state of Georgia, but a lot of people are talking about this call. This
they played this on Sports Center. They replayed that on Sports Center.
Exactly. So my whole thing is, it can be just as simple as in the playoffs, all the scores are subject to replay, and you can put a time limit on it. Hey, was this the real deal? And you don't have to give coaches challenge flags and all that stuff. You don't have to get into all that. Just put it in. Just make it's simple, because we know what all the politics that go into rule changes in the NFL and all that stuff. This is high school football.
Right.
They make it simple, get it right, because at the end of the day, we're talking about high school football.
Yeah.
Why not get it right? Like, because those Sandy Creek guys, they're gonna be in a bad situation, because people gonna be looking at them like, man, y'all ain't earned that championship.
Right. As we say in Divine Nine land, you paper.
But it's
oh
my gosh,
that's what it's gonna be. And I hate that for you, Sandy Creek, but I mean, that's what the world's gonna say. Your paper.
And y'all shouldn't have to defend themselves like that, right? The adults supposed to get it right, so the kids don't have to defend themselves in that particular situation, because the Cedar Grove fans and players and everything, like, they sitting up here looking like, man, what in the world?
Yeah, I mean, your heart just goes out to them. And listen, we all know that 4th and goal could have definitely been a punch in for Sandy Creek, and they still could have won the game, but it would have been Sandy Creek winning the game as opposed to the referee giving them the game. That's night and day. And you can never, not that I want Sandy Creek to give the trophy back, but maybe GHSA, I don't know if you've ever had co-champions, you might want to think about something, because it's just too egregious. Honestly, you should take a look at that entire squad, the referees, the line judge, all of them. And you should really determine if that's the group that you ever want to put in this type of situation again, when they blew it this bad. But anyway, we move on, and Cedar Grove just keep pushing and come back next year and
be back.
Just blow everybody away. This won't even be a question. And hopefully we'll get to blow you guys away tomorrow with more breakdown of Falcons Saints. Maybe we'll have some Dansby news, and we sure hope that we're going to get a dub in Memphis today. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Y'all come back now, you hear?